Dear friends, I am Shanice J. Thank you so much for tuning into Love Her Will, the new voice of willpower. This platform focuses on the unheard voices of young adult women of color who have unique journeys battling breast cancer and other life challenges. Today, I'm so excited to introduce Miss Martina Gaines. Martina is a breast cancer survivor who was diagnosed at 30 years old. Martina will help us discuss surviving sudden grief and breast cancer at the same time by sharing her own journey. So thank you, Martina, for being here. Thank you so much. So how you feeling today?
Welcome. I'm feeling good today. Today is a good day. Sunny outside, so
Right.
feeling
And
good.
speaking of Sunny, we're wearing our yellow in
Yeah.
memory of her beautiful daughter, Malaya, and you're going to hear her talk about her in a minute. So, Martina, unfortunately, you had the experience of battling breast cancer. How did that come about? Like, how did you know you had it?
Well, I had noticed that when I was in the shower one day, I noticed that I had a lump on my left side of my breast,
Wow.
and that was in early August of 2017. And so I felt around it, kind of, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just milk, like dried up
Mhm.
milk that I had because I had been pumping for Malia.
Okay, so you already had
And
your baby at the time.
yes,
Okay.
yes, I already had Malia. She was born March 9th, 2017.
Okay.
So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna call my doctor and my primary care doctor, see what she thinks. So
Hmm.
I called her, and then she's like, well, I think you need to go ahead and come on in just so I can just feel around there to make sure if it is dried milk or, or if it could be something else. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go ahead and come on in.
Right. And that's good that she
So
told you to do that. Hmm.
yes, so she told me to do that, and I went in for her to do like an exam on my breast. She examined the right breast, and then she went to presume to examine the left breast.
Yeah.
So when she felt around it, she was like, well, this kind of feels, she's like, I don't know, it feels hard. And
Hmm.
she said, I don't know if this doesn't really feel like dried milk, like,
Right.
and I'm like, okay. And then she proceeded to ask me, did I have any tenderness in my breast?
Hmm.
Overlooking she said, try to overlook the fact that you just had a baby. I'm like, okay. That your breasts are going to be tender. And I was like, yes. I said, I haven't had any other tenderness than that. She's like,
Okay.
well, I want to go ahead and send you to have a mammogram done.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, a mammogram done.
Yeah, that's scary to hear. It's like, hold on, I'm only 30 years old. What are you talking about? Yeah. Wow.
Yes. And so when she told me I need a mammogram, only thing that went back in my head was thinking, people that get mammograms, they're like over the age of 40 years old. You
Hmm.
know, not no typical 30-year-old person gets mammograms.
Right.
So I kind of went home that day and I was like, okay, all right. So she scheduled me for my mammogram. I went in, and that led to the doctor wanted to see me there at the mammogram center.
Hmm.
So they put me in a room, and the nurse said, well, the doctor wants to do an ultrasound of your breast. I said, okay, that's fine. So he came in, introduced himself, and he started like going around with the probe, and he's like feeling it, and he's like
Right.
making like different kind of faces, like,
Hmm.
I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
okay,
That's scary.
yes.
Wow.
And so I'm like, well, I said, I can't remember his name at the time, the doctor, but I said, what do you think it is? I mean, do you think it's dried up milk, or what do you think? He said, Martina, he said, I don't really know, but at this point it is
Hmm.
hard. And he said that I want to go ahead and send you right now. I want to go ahead and do a biopsy right now, and then go ahead and have it sent over to the hospital right now. And
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the mammogram center is located in Salisbury off of Julian Road, and the hospital is just like what, like 20 minutes from
Okay.
there. So one of the nurses actually drove my biopsy the same day to the
Wow.
hospital.
Wow. So they were kind of urgent about this. Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Wow. Ooh, that is that's a lot. And I'm really excited to hear that they were swift about trying to figure out to get to a solution. Because sometimes you have doctors, because you're young, just kind of like, oh, don't worry about it, let's see if it goes away. And your
Hmm.
doctors were on it. Even though it was scary, they were on it. Because I can only
Yeah.
imagine how that 20-minute drive was, just thinking about, okay, what am I going to hear? And were they sensitive when they told you the news of having breast cancer?
Once they took it, they told me that I would be contacted by my primary care doctor.
Okay.
And so, after that, I left, went home, and I let my family know, that I had a biopsy done. They're like, well, why are they doing it the same day? I said, I have no idea.
Yeah.
He asked me, did breast cancer run in my family? I told him no, breast
Okay.
cancer does not.
So no
And
history.
so, yeah,
Okay.
no history or nothing like that of all of breast cancer.
Wow.
So, I ended up getting a call from a nurse navigator that is through the mammogram center, and she wanted me to come in to give
Mm-hmm.
me my results.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, all right. So at the time, I had my daughter Malia, me,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time was my um, boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the mammogram center, and that's when I, met the nurse
Mm-hmm.
navigator, and then she just was like, you guys can have a seat and sit down around the table, and she had like little toys in there for where people come in with their
Mm-hmm.
kids, and Malia was just kind of fussy when we got
Okay.
out the car that day. She was
Okay.
just kind of real fussy and not her same self, and
Wow.
I
Yeah.
felt
You
like
think?
she knew something, even
Yeah.
even my boyfriend at the time was like, she's real fussy, she's just not
Yeah. Because
wanting to
you
just
think she could probably felt your energy, probably.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So all the nerves that you were feeling and the
Mhm.
stress. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Did you stop
So
breastfeeding when you found out about the knot, or were you?
Um, no, I still kept pumping milk
Mm-hmm.
for Malia since
Mm-hmm.
she was born so, early.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to give her as much breast milk as I could and try to still give her the other baby formula that they wanted her to use for preemies.
Yeah.
Um, so when we were there, that's when Miss Jill, she just said those words that, Martina, I'm sorry, but you have breast cancer.
Oh,
And yeah.
wow. Just hearing that now makes me feel like I'm about to relive it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, ah. Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
So yeah, and so Malia, she was just crying real bad, and then
Yeah.
my boyfriend, he was crying, and then, um he had took Malia out the room or whatever, and Miss Jill proceeded to tell me, that I was going to be in contact with an oncologist.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. Yeah. And people fail to realize, even after treatments, we still deal with the pain or the anxiety that it may return. Um, and it just seemed like once we talk about it, it's like we're reliving it all over again.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So they told you to be in touch with an oncologist to give you further news about treatments and surgery. Did you have to go into surgery right away to
So what they wanted to do was so I went and met with the oncologist, and I talked to him, and he's like, well, we want to go ahead and he's like, what we're gonna do is meet up with the I'm gonna meet up with the surgeon to kind of, we need to have some tests done as far as a CAT scan done on you.
Mhm.
We need an MRI done on you, on your, of your chest and your body and things like that, to see how deep that the cancer was to
Right.
my chest cavity wall. And
Okay.
so at the time, the surgeon, they had me come back in, and they got my test results, and my doctor was like, well, my oncologist was like, well, the surgeon doesn't feel comfortable doing surgery right now. He wants you to go ahead and start chemo first, so it can shrink away from your chest cavity wall, because it will be taking
Okay.
so much muscle
Right.
away from your body, and that's something you can't get back. And
Wow.
I'm young, and he's like, he didn't
Yeah.
want to do that. He didn't feel comfortable.
Right.
So I started my chemo, and that was started my chemo in September,
Mhm.
and September 2017, and it lasted until December 2017.
Okay.
And I had my surgery um, in 2018
Okay.
um, of a double mastectomy.
Okay. Wow. And that's traumatizing right there. Yeah. I'm echoing. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-mm. And did they present the surgery in a way that, hey, this, you have to do this, or was it a choice? Were you far
Well,
along into the stage, your stage, to where they said, hey, you need to do this to prevent it from coming back, or hey, you need to do this because you're far along?
well, when they told me the test results from my oncologist after getting the MRI done and the biopsy done,
Mhm.
they said that I was in between stage 1 and 2,
Okay.
to where they wanted to just get right on top of doing the chemo,
Mhm.
and that I could wait to have the surgery done,
Okay.
because of my surgeon didn't feel comfortable doing it. It's like they call it the tumor board in
Okay.
Salisbury and
I never
Novant.
heard that. Wow.
Yep. And so it's this you got your surgeon, you got your nurse, your nurse navigator there.
Okay.
You had different oncologists there. That's a whole team board of members that they meet.
Yeah.
I think every Monday at the time. They meet every Monday in a room and just talk about different patients that's been recently diagnosed, or
Okay.
patients that are still being treated. They
Okay.
also reach out to other doctors that are in other states, and they call them the guru of doctors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's comforting to know that your doctors are making sure they're confident in what they're saying to you, confident in your treatment, because this is life or death. Um, chemotherapy alone just takes so much out of you. And so I'm just glad to know that they took it seriously, and they had a team of people around them. And that's awesome. I've never heard of that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, ooh. So now it's September, and we're gonna kind of go into the next phase. It's gonna be a little tough to talk about. Um, so now you're dealing with, the breast cancer. How are you able to just be a mother while you're dealing, while you're tired from chemotherapy, taking yourself to appointments? Uh, and did you have radiation too as well?
I did not have radiation. They were like, we felt like the cancer was all gone, and
Okay.
that I didn't need any radiation. And so they did remove lymph nodes from my left arm or whatever, to remove that. And then as far as taking care of my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
um, that was really hard, because I did work up until I had my surgery, my double mastectomy.
You were working?
Yes, I was
Oh, wow.
working full time. I was
Wow.
still able to drive myself to my chemo appointments. And then thank God that my aunt and uncle, they live in Salisbury,
Mm-hmm.
to where I could go from their house from having my chemo done and drive to their house and just kind of rest and take a nap.
Okay.
But as far as with Malia, that was really hard because after chemo, they didn't want me to change her diaper because she had just got, if she just got shot sometimes,
Okay.
that I will be immune to that. Like I could get that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't even change my own daughter's
I
diaper.
know. Oh my
Are you
gosh.
serious? So at the time, my boyfriend, he would change her diaper, after chemo sessions, sometimes when she had her shots. And then a couple of times when I would hold Malia,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was really hard to hold her
Oh,
because
wow.
my hands were so weak.
Mm. Wow.
And I remember one time I was changing, changing Malia, and I was like, okay, I got it, I can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was changing her, and then she had fell back on her changing table, which thank God it has like a cushion on there. And I was like, oh
Right.
my God, this is, sometimes you got to tell yourself when you need help.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's tough. Yeah.
But
Mm.
Malia, she helped me get through,
She did.
chemo. She would come with me to my sessions
Um,
and sit there with me and
yeah.
play with my hair. And at the time my hair was coming out, and she would just sit there and just laugh, like pull on it. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, you're looking like
Not
and then she looked
understanding.
back at me and just not understanding.
Mm-hmm.
um and so she was a big motivator for me.
Wow. Wow. Oh. And I know this is really hard. You all for Martina to be here and talk about her journey is it's so tough right now. At the beginning, I was talking about wearing yellow for Malia. Um, Unfortunately, it was a tragic accident, um, and Malia is no longer with us at this time. Do you mind talking a little bit about what happened and just how you were able to just overcome that? I don't even understand how you were able to do that, and I know you're still struggling with it, but to even just get back to work and just normal routine, like I just don't understand, how you had the willpower to do that. Wow.
Well, um
Wow.
like I said, Malia gave me a lot of strength to keep going on. And then also, trusting in God
Yeah.
that, everything was going to work out fine. They
Yeah.
did offer, for me to have my eggs frozen at the time. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I have Malia. I'm
Yeah.
not going to worry about it. They were like, well, just in
Right.
case, you might want to have some eggs frozen, for down the road because
Right.
chemo can mess up your reproductive system. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So, leading on down to that point in October of 2017, I was at work
Hmm.
and I work in a dentist's office. So I was back there with a patient, and then one of my staff members, they came up and got me and said that my boyfriend was on the phone.
Hmm.
So I go up there to the front desk and I'm like, hello. And it's my boyfriend on the phone. And he's like, I've been in the accident. Malia's is, I don't know that she's hurt. They're working on her. I don't know. I'm like, well, what's going on? He was like, the ambulance is coming and they're there trying to, and it's like, it was just like
Yeah.
just a like, it's like I zoned out at that moment. And so I'm like, well, where are you at now? He's like, we're still here, over here where we had the wreck at. And I was like, well, I'm gonna come over there. He said, no, by the time you get here, we're already gonna be at the hospital. Because the ambulance, they
Mhm.
were already there. I couldn't figure out if the ambulance was there, if they were on their
Right.
way. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
So one of my coworkers drove me to the hospital,
Mhm.
and drove me there, and it's across the street from where I work at. And at the time, I could not see Malia.
Mhm.
They had her back there in a room, and so a lot of different friends, and a lot of my boyfriend's family were there.
Okay.
My coworkers, they had came with me. They had came from the office to come over
Yeah.
there with me in a room. And then finally the nurse was like, do you want to see your daughter? And I said yes.
Okay.
And so they brought me back to the room where she was at.
Mhm.
And
Okay. Take your time. Let me get some Kleenex. You all right? Okay. Wow.
I have a napkin. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll work.
So they brought me back over there to the room where Malia was.
Mhm.
They were still in there trying to work on her.
Mhm.
And at first, the machine was like boop boop boop, like the
Mhm.
heart monitor machine. It was still going, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it just kind of, when they wheeled in like they call it a scope, and I know this because I
Okay.
work in the OR
Okay.
too. So they brought in a scope to kind of look down her throat, and I'm
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
like,
What's going on? Yeah.
what's going on? Like, why are they bringing a scope to look down her throat?
Yeah.
And then when they took the scope out, I saw one of the doctors just shook their head at the screen, because you could see on the scope, down there.
Mhm.
And that's when Malia started. The machine just kind of just went like a flat line.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then they began to do CPR on her.
Oh gosh. Oh Jesus. Oh wow.
So they did CPR on her. And I remember at the time, when I looked over to my right, it was Wake Forest Baptist Hospital for Children.
Okay.
They were standing there, and because they were standing there, and I'm like, the nurse was like, well, we have to get a heartbeat back for her, and we have to have her stable to be able to be transported to
Yeah.
Wake, because they had a helicopter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just looked at them and said, please take her.
Yeah.
And then they just looked at me. And then they kept trying to do CPR, and then Aaliyah started having blood come from her nose and her mouth.
Oh gosh. Uh, oh
And that was nothing else that they can do.
my gosh.
And she passed away at 7 months.
Gosh. Mm. Wow.
So after that,
Yeah.
she was my willpower.
Yeah. Yep. She's your angel now. I don't take this lightly. I just you are a warrior for being able to just, not only just live that, but just to relive it, to tell your story. So many women, lose their children, but we just don't hear about it, and we just don't really hear, how it really affects you. Did you do any counseling or anything
Um,
like that to help you get through this?
yes, I did do counseling. Um, at the hospital, they give you like a lot of things on, after a child has passed away, as far as counseling, or if you're wanting to donate organs. And I was like, yes, I definitely want to donate Malia's organs.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, all right, well, we're gonna call them now to see if we can go ahead and get her organs donated, because they have to move like fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
yes, that's fine. And so I got on the phone with the organ donator
Yeah.
people, and they were asking me questions about Malia, as far as her health, has she traveled outside the US, has she recently been sick, has she had all her shots, and I'm trying to answer these questions, and my daughter is sitting there laying on
Yeah.
the
Oh my
table,
gosh.
you know.
How in the world? And I know they have to do their job, but how in the world can I talk to you right now? I just lost my baby girl. And I know you
So
have a
it
job
turned
to do. Did you have anybody help you talk to them? Or did you do that on your own?
Yes, the nurse was talking with them, and then also my boyfriend was talking with them as well. When I couldn't do it, he got on the phone. When I couldn't do it, then he got on the phone. Then the nurse, when we both couldn't do it, she got on there and was answering questions for us. But it but it turned out to be that I couldn't donate none of Malia's organs because she was in a car crash, and they had to do like an autopsy on her. So any child that's in a car crash, they automatically have to do an autopsy on. And
Okay.
I'm like, well, oh my gosh, you guys could have told me that in the first place. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to sit here and give you all these questions.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And I had later on found that out through the medical examiner. She actually called me, and she apologized and said, I'm sorry, you know,
Yeah.
because when a child passes away, they have to do an autopsy, and especially in a car wreck,
Okay.
So I'm glad that she took the time out to call me.
Yeah. And apologize, because what are you guys doing? Like, I'm not in the right state of mind to talk about this right now. Wow.
So as far as counseling, getting back to that question, they do have an organization that's called the Circle of Hope, and it's an organization around the world where people have lost their child, either if they're infant, even if it was a miscarriage, or if their
Okay.
child was even a grown adult. They come together and meet on certain days, and you just kind of talk about what happened, and how are you just walking forth in this moment.
Right.
um so I was going to that for a little bit, but I felt like going to the Circle of Hope, you have to keep reliving
Yeah.
the accident all over again, reliving it
Yeah.
all over again, because you have to tell your story to so many people, and there's different people all the time, or some of
Right.
them are the same people. And
Okay.
so they ask you, hey, how are you? What's your name? Okay, so what brings you here today? And I
Right.
have to tell them about Malia over and over again. So
Oh my
I
God.
stopped going there for a while.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
not do it.
And I'm not against counseling. Counseling can be beneficial, but I think timing as far as when to go is important, because, like you said, you're reliving your whole circumstance over and over, and that could be detrimental. I mean, that, I mean, that can push somebody further into depression. And I mean, that's kind of how I was about my circumstance. I couldn't keep talking about it and telling people, well, this is what's going on, and this is what happened. So I truly understand that. So was there anything that you can share that did help, that could help somebody else?
Just try to surround yourself around with positive people
Yeah.
to encourage you. That can be either a family member, a friend, someone at work. Even if you see someone in the grocery store or at Walmart or wherever that knows you, they're like, hey, it's good seeing you, and you're kind of just trying to do like the push your buggy real fast, not trying
Yeah.
to see people, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to stop and think that's really encouragement,
Yeah.
so that helped out a lot as well.
Yeah.
Also just you know I would say mainly just staying around positive people.
Yeah.
No negativity about like what happened or anything like that.
Right.
Um, of course, what comes with, having breast cancer in a child is comes with depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something I still battle to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a stigmatism for African American people to have that or deal
Yeah.
with that.
It is. It really is. And speaking of stigmatism, it's a lot of pressure and weight on us as Black women to be strong. You know what I mean? To put on a good face and just get back to life. And that could be that could weigh pretty hard on you. Just having that in the back of your mind, like, okay, now I have to get back to life. I have to do this, do that. Did you take any time off from work? Or was it better for you to just jump right back into life?
I did take time off from work, as far as after my surgery with my mastectomy,
Mm-hmm.
and then also I took a lot of time off after Malia passed away, and then I just sat there and was like, you know what? I have to get back to life. I have to get back to some type of, you know, normalcy. It might not
Right.
be the same normal, but just something to keep my mind going. So I did go back to work, and I did go back to the OR, the same hospital where Malia passed away.
Mm.
I don't work down in that department, but just driving up to the hospital,
Yeah.
I kind of just try to not even look over at the emergency room department. I just kind of go up that hill. There I am.
Right.
You know, um, every time I hear sirens, that's a trigger.
Yeah.
Every time I hear a helicopter
Yeah.
at the hospital, or or if I'm leaving out of the hospital that day for work,
Yeah.
if I see the Baptist ambulance for the children,
Right.
that just right there brings me back to day one.
Yeah. Oh
So
my gosh.
I like my job and I like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
That's
why
good.
I just continue to still go to the OR.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Mm. I tell you, you are the symbol of willpower to be able to go back to the place where you lost Malia. Oh my gosh.
And I
And
want to say that my job did give me the opportunity to, they were like, Martina, you don't have to go back there and work, you could just work here at the office, and I was like, well, no, because I like being in the OR. This is what I like to do, I
right.
like different atmospheres,
Yeah.
basically.
Right. Yeah. And then I think that's important, just finding something you love to do, because I can only imagine now you're going to work and you don't like what you do. Now, so you got the stress of being at work, you don't want to be there. And what you said earlier, the people that you work with came to the hospital to support you. So you have all that support and love around you, positivity. So like you said, that's just number one. That's key, is surround yourself. I can only imagine that even driving to work at first, you probably had a little bit of PTSD. People forget that PTSD can happen to anyone who's had a traumatic event. Um, so how are you? So at this point, have you been able to? What do you do as far as that concerned? Do you have a breathing technique to kind of get yourself back together? Do you pray? Do you listen to some music? Like, how do you kind of get over those nerves when you're driving up to the hospital? You know, how do you get over that trigger?
What I do is I just cut on the radio, or I cut on my like a playlist that I have, and just drive to work and just pull on into the hospital, get out, and just kind of just still speak to people, just try to go about my day.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I do have to go like in the break room or in the bathroom and just take a breather and be like, breathe in and out. All right.
Yeah.
Today's gonna be a good day. And
Right.
you have to tell yourself that today's is gonna be a good day and I'm gonna be all right. I'm still
Right.
here, I'm still living. I still have my health, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I believe that I will be able to have kids again.
Oh yeah.
Even though chemo messed up my reproductive system, I believe God is a healer,
Oh yeah.
and
Yes.
that I will be able to have a child naturally,
Yeah.
So that's what I pray for.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You are just amazing. Wow. So for those of you women that are out there who've experienced grief, who's experienced breast cancer, or even both at the same time, um, Martina has just displayed just tremendous willpower. You have to surround yourself with positivity. You have to talk to yourself and just say, hey, just speak it into existence. Everything's going to be all right. Look at things, I guess what glass half full. I've got my health. I beat breast cancer. I'm here and I'm here for a purpose, and Malia's looking down at you. She's your angel. That's that little light that everybody sees in you. You just have such a sweet spirit, and your strength is just amazing.
Thank you,
And I
Shanice.
and I'm just so fortunate to even be your friend and to even just to hear your story. Um, um, I really appreciate you. I do. Um, is there anything you want to add at the or say that you didn't get to say?
I would just like to add that, hopefully they have more research out there for people that have been diagnosed at a young age with breast cancer, not only during your 30s, even when you're 20 something years old, 18 years
Right.
old. And I think that they need to change the requirements so when you need to have a mammogram done.
Right. They
You
do.
know, I see the commercial and it says a mammogram needs to be done at the age of 40. And I just want to take something and just throw it at that TV,
I know.
because it's like, no,
Right.
that should not be allowed. That is so false
It
advertisement,
is. It is.
So I want to tell other, women to make sure you're checking your breast
Yes.
constantly. If you feel something there, call your doctor.
Exactly.
Don't take it for granted. Call your
Right.
doctor. It could just be something small, but still call your
Right.
doctor.
Right.
You know.
Get confirmation, because
Hmm.
making assumptions can leave us in a tight place. And I just love the fact that you were on it. You're like, hold up, let me call my doctor just to make sure. So, and like you said, we need change. So many young women, especially women of color, we're at the highest rates of getting breast cancer at a younger age. And not only are we getting it, we're dying from it
Hmm.
more so than any other race. So there has to be more research out there. And not only that, us as a community, we need to continue to share our own personal journeys to encourage other people to get checked or to check themselves. And, even if you don't have family history, I didn't have family history, Martina didn't have family history. So that shouldn't be your only driving force to get checked out. So, wow. Thank you for reiterating that. That's good. Thank you.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Well, I appreciate you, Martina, for being here. You're beautiful, and you're just such a sweet
Well,
person.
thank you. You are
And
too,
thank
girl.
you. Thank you. So thank you so much for being on here and sharing your story with all of us today. And I just pray that God continues to bless you tremendously and return, just give you true happiness and in the future. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Guys, so make sure you share this story and make sure you go to my Facebook page, Love Her Will SJ, and use our hashtag Heart Her Will. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.